Liza Bochkareva, and it's my pleasure to welcome you at this very special memorial. We have gathered here today for this very special event. So it's not just a regular concert or presentation. We're here to cherish the memory of an amazing man, wonderful musician, great pianist, brilliant teacher, and just an amazing person. This meeting is an initiative of us, a handful of his ex-students, and we're very grateful to the conservatory that we could make this event here in these halls, where most of us have met him, and where so many memories are awakened. They say that great people leave great traces, and I think that Martyn was such a person who left a deep trace in the soul of every person who has ever crossed paths with him. And today, the idea is that we bring all those wonderful memories to life, and that we remember him as vividly as if he was just here with us today. So today we will listen to some personal stories, personal memories that we had with Martyn, and we will watch some of his photos and listen to his recordings. So I will be beginning with my personal stories. When I first met Martyn, it was a very funny moment. It was actually a very scary moment as well, because it was my entrance audition for the conservatory. And you can imagine I was very nervous. I didn't know anyone in the commission, and I just went there, said hello, I played my first piece, and I felt really intimidated because it's such a scary moment for everyone, right? And then I looked up to the commission, and there sat this gentleman with the Beethoven hair, and he was smiling at me. And then he winked, like, and that was so unexpected, because you expect a serious entrance exam, you expect everyone is going to sit there and look at you. And he just winked. And suddenly all my nervousness was gone. And I felt I was among friends, and that I was welcome here. And this story, that's exactly Martyn as a teacher. He was always there to say exactly the right thing at exactly the right moment, and to do exactly the same thing at the right moment in order to bring out the best in us and to make us the best versions of ourselves as pianists, as musicians, and as people. And he was, of course, also a great musical inspiration to all of us. I remember one time I played some masterclass, and I played a solo piece, and then Martyn came to me and he said, "Oh, why don't you also play the first movement of the Mozart concerto?" And I said, "Well, yeah, no problem, I know my part. I would like to do that, but I don't have the score with me, so shall I do it without the orchestral part, without the accompaniment?" And Martyn said, "Oh, that's not going to be a problem at all." And then he just sat there at the piano, and he accompanied the entire first movement of a major Mozart concerto, just by heart, perfectly, with all orchestral tutti, everything, just by pitch, just because he knew the music and he could just sit there and do it. So that was really an amazing moment. And once, just before my graduation, we had a very deep philosophical talk at one of our lessons. Actually, I haven't touched the piano at that lesson, we just talked, but that's one of the strongest memories that I have with Martyn. He was going through a difficult time back then. He had just lost his mother. And we spoke that day a lot about life and death, about the transition that we make from this world to the other world. And I will never forget what he said. He said, when people die, there are so many things that need to be arranged. And that's so disturbing, because you have to do that, you have to do this, you have to organize things. And that distracts us from celebrating the death for what it is. For celebrating the circle of life and celebrating the person who has passed away and what he has achieved in this lifetime. And I would like us today to do exactly what Martyn would like us to do. Celebrate. Let's celebrate him, his music, his personality, and his transition. So we will go on with the recording, the first recording, after which another person will give a speech. Thank you. Now I would like to invite on stage Yuqi to give her speech.
Hello everyone. I am a Martyn student between year 2016 to 2018. I intended not to write down an essay in advance because who wants to hear that if we have good recordings from Martyn? But I would still like to share some of my personal moments with Martyn, the Martyn we all know and love. I remember in my first year master, I had a wonderful dinner with Martyn in this Chinese restaurant at the train station. And I was asking him very worryingly, can you eat spicy food? Because our cuisine is really spicy. And he stared at me and very proudly saying, look, I won a competition in Singapore having spicy food, and I won the first prize from a Thai girl while transferring to Japan. I was like, okay, I didn't expect that from you, but I'm really glad to know there's one Dutch can be spicy. And Martyn tried so hard to recover since he woke up at hospital. Unlike me, who gained some kilos during the pandemic, he actually kept working out at the gym. And he told me, Yuqi, I have never been so masculine in my whole life. I need to go shopping for new outfits. So as his solution for the life, for me to get my first grand piano, Apparently it's super easy. It's a very inspiring, yet some very easy solution from him is to win a piano competition. Like, it's practical for all of us to do. But although making mochi, a Japanese dessert, for him doesn't seem as easy as winning as eating spicy food and playing competition. It is a pity that we supposed to meet up in the end of March in Vienna, and he was so passionate about taking me to dinner and introduce me to his Buddhist friend at the Japanese temple there. Unfortunately, this didn't happen. Martyn had 68 years' time in this world. It had lived the fullest of his life offered him. I always feel so privileged to have the opportunity to be one of his last students. Having him in my life, hearing his wise and insightful words, and seeing how he fought through his past with all the changes and challenges and difficulties with my own eyes. May he rest in peace, and we all know deeply in our hearts that he will be forever remembered and loved. Thank you.
Looking at these photos again makes me just realize how much Martyn will be missed by all of us. The next person who would like to say a few words is Jabiz Hafizi, the ex-student of Martyn. We studied together. Please welcome on stage.
Hello everyone. Martyn has been an inspiration to all of us. Personally, I'm very grateful for his friendship and counsel. I owe the starting point of my life in the Netherlands to him. It has been a privilege to know him and being his student. He had all the aspects that a great piano teacher should have. Full of enthusiasm and energy, and he was a caring person. He was a role model, demonstrating beautiful playing. He was patient and allowed the learning process to unfold at the student's pace. He was the balance of serious and fun. And his sense of humor made the time being around him so joyful. He influenced people with his great positivity, affection, kindness, and acclaim. He gave each of his students the freedom to evolve their own voice and the confidence to believe in their own intuition. His guidance helped and inspired not just in the field of music, but also over the path of life, how to think wise and have a strong mindset. He was a mastermind with virtuoso mindset, and an example that everything is possible with the power of a strong mind. His determination and extraordinary fighting spirit was admired by all. His soul, legacy, and inspiration will be always alive. Dear Martyn, your spirit and our beautiful memories will be forever in my heart and thoughts. Thank you for everything. I would like also to share one personal story with him. We were in Tehran, he had a concert, and after the concert, there were people from the radio and they wanted to interview him, but the translator was sick. So they asked me to be a translator. And I was like, okay, but I'm not fast. I have to pick up the words and that won't go very fluent. And they were like, no, it's fine, just sit and do it. So I sat there and also people were watching, the audience were there, so they were also watching. So I was a little bit like stressed and lost in my mind sitting there. And then the interviewer starting to start to speaking like in Persian language, like hello, which is salam. And then I was sitting there and listening to him, and then he was like translate. And suddenly I looked at Martyn and said, oh, hello. And Martyn was like, hello. And then the interviewer started to interviewing him, and then he started to answer, but at a certain point, I don't know why, I forgot that I'm here to translate. I also gave answer and explained more, and after that, Martyn told me, sometimes I gave 2 words, but it seemed that you talked for 5 minutes. What did you say? And then afterward, people listening to the radio told me, were you a translator or he was interviewing you? So we had a great laughter afterwards. And it was a very, very funny story to both of us. He will be missed, and I have wonderful stories to tell you. It takes ages. But this was the funniest moment that we had together in Tehran. We will remember him forever. Thank you.
Hilarious. Thank you, Jabiz. This is Martyn, emotional, outgoing, and always surrounded by people. I think he was like a social glue, putting many different people together and enjoying it. One of the persons with whom I got connected via Martyn is Myrto Tzelisi, who is going to be the next one giving the speech.
Hello everyone. I met Martyn in my first year of master, and he was my teacher for around 1.5 years. It might not have been a very long time, but I have to admit that I learned more than I realized at that time. And this is something that I started seeing after I graduated. There are many times that when I am teaching I use the phrase, my teacher once told me, or when I was discussing this with my teacher, Martyn, and so on. There are many times that things that we discussed in the lessons come back during my practice and during my lessons. I would like to share with you one moment in a lesson that made a strong impression to me, and I still remember it with a lot of respect and admiration. Martyn was, as you know, very well known for his love for Liszt and Schubert. But there was one time that I heard him playing Beethoven, and I was really amazed. We were in a lesson. I think it was one of the last lessons before he fell sick. And I was preparing Beethoven Opus 110 at that time. It was just before he went on a tour, so it was a nice opportunity to just go through the whole sonata and discuss what's the idea behind it and what happens in different sections, etc. So we were starting browsing through the piece, and he started talking about it, talking about Beethoven, about his last sonatas in general. And then he started using examples from the last Beethoven sonata, Opus 111, comparing it with Opus 110. The more he played, the more I realized how impressed I was for his playing of that sonata. I remember I was thinking, but how is he doing that? Like, this makes total sense. I mean, how can it be so deep and so natural? It is so mature, and just everything had a reason to be played. And at some point I asked him, okay, how long have you been playing this piece? And his answer was, well, I have been playing it for about 40 years now. And actually now I start feeling confident to play it in public. I still remember that lesson, and that phrase, like it was yesterday. Unfortunately, I never had the opportunity to listen to him playing Opus 111 live, but even with just a taste of it, in that lesson, that became my favorite memory of my time. Thank you.
Thank you for your beautiful memories, Myrto. Many people have contributed to today's memorial, sharing those beautiful photos and recordings. But there were also some of us who couldn't be there today, but who wanted to share something with the audience and make a live contribution. So now we'll listen to two speeches that we have digitally from two ex-students of Martyn. The first one is Henry Mockenburg, who studied with him from 2011, I think, until 2013. And the second one is from Felix Justin, who had chamber music with Martyn.
I would like to say something about Martyn through three different perspectives. His genius, his vision, and lastly, his humor. First of all, his genius. I remember being in Bach in 2013, and Martyn gave various concerts there. And one concert he gave on the rooftop of the Spa Hotel. And he played on an electric piano because it was not possible to transport a concert grounds to the roof. And what happened? He was in the middle of La Campanella when a power cut occurred. 5 minutes later, when the power was restored, Martyn resumed the concert in the middle of the exact same bar at full speed. Then his vision. One of the most important lessons I've learned in life is that events in music, alterations for instance, let's say a modulation or the ending of such a pattern, they arise through a causal link with an earlier event. Elements don't stand on their own but are related to earlier events. And Martyn told me the exact same applies to life. Thirdly, is humor. I remember Martyn telling me that he studied at the Utrecht Conservatory, and the study rooms were very limited and the walls were very thin. And he noticed that he was studying next to Liza Bochkareva. And he heard Bochkareva play certain piece. So Martyn went home and he studied on the piece, and the next day he came back and sat next to Bochkareva again, and he played at a double tempo. What happened? A day later, when Martyn came back and noticed that he was studying again for the third time next to Bochkareva, he heard Bochkareva playing the piece at quadruple tempo. I hope this contributes to a fine remembrance and memorial of Martyn in Utrecht.
Martyn van der Hoek was a great artist, fantastic teacher, and wonderful friend to me. I clearly remembered how positive he was, and he gave also a lot of encouragement during my study in Utrecht. Moreover, I had lots of inspiring lessons with him during my study. And then also we traveled around the world. We traveled together to Japan, and he introduced me also the beauty of Vienna with his wife Tomiko. I will always remember our friendship. Rust zacht, lieve Martyn. Ik hou vast aan onze mooie herinneringen.
With this beautiful chords, we finish the session of Martyn's recordings. Now I would like to invite the last person on stage who will share some beautiful memories and play Liszt, Le Jeu de la Modeste for us. Klára Würtz, please.
Awkward to stand here actually, and so beautiful friend. I mean this piece could have been the end. I feel kind of superfluous now, but I feel also I feel so much love for him at this moment because he gave this school his soul, his knowledge, amazingly. I mean, school probably didn't realize what a jewel was dropped here at the time when he did audition here. I was already teaching here when he came, and in my eyes he was the absolute optimal scholar in the best sense. I mean, so much knowledge that it was almost intimidating, I think, for colleagues, for anybody who knew him. There was nothing he didn't know about, actually. It was pretty amazing. I mean, it was amazing to hear your memory, all of you. Of course, the love which radiates from all of his students. And he was chinologue, he was gastronome, he was architect, he was... And there was no topic of life where he didn't have an opinion with base of knowledge, because we can learn out of the Hoofd, but he knew what he was talking about. And that made him so incredibly joyous to be with and have a dialogue with, because the brilliance of the mind and the absolute, I can hear his voice as he says, thank you. And then you think, really? Okay, then you have to think about it. And when you were in conversation with him, you also had the feeling that he already went through, he scanned through your mind, and he already knew what you might be thinking, and he was already debating it. And it was just absolutely refreshing. And we also have to mention that from his, with his arrival in the school, there was new fresh blood of action. Lots of things he organized. I mean, we have to thank him for the chamber music department, basically. He created this department, which is so important in the education of young musicians, because we can be very taken by our personality and individualistically busy with music, but chamber music is life, is connection to people, to make music together. And he saw it so clearly that this is the essence of musicianship. So he encouraged that, and he did so many good things for the school, for the Hakau, that it's really immense. And maybe we were not even aware of it. It's unfortunately the truth of life. You always become aware of things when it's too late, or it's over, or that's a bitter truth. But he was a great colleague, and I remember he invited me also to his wonderful festival in Austria, and we were having wonderful walks with Momo, the dog, and we had lovely talks with Tomiko, and he was so gastfrei and so unbelievably open and kind, always curious, always challenging, always, but I think that the greatest dialogue was in his head, with himself, because somebody who has so much knowledge and so much to share, and that makes him probably even more than a scholar, because a scholar is also, will be very happy to write down his wonderful theories on paper and be a researcher. But he really had the need to communicate this all the time. Communicate with the students, with anybody. And this curiosity for life, curiosity for people, curiosity for anything which is alive on this world, that's the greatest lesson. Sometimes when one is down and you start to have doubts, and then you always think how much power he must have had to go through those 4 years of his threat of losing it any moment. Because the fragile body was not in balance with his gigantic mind, which he had. But this gigantic mind was actually helping him to survive himself and this, for other people, in 20 minutes you give up. Because this hopeless situation. Not for Martyn. I got some, we were in correspondence also in the lockdown, and I remember how Riley, he had the most incredible, as you know, incredible sense of humor and wit. And he was very much annoyed that in Holland people were very upset because of the pandemics, because they couldn't sit on the terrace having a beer yet. And he found it abhorring that that's their greatest concern. And of course, coming from somebody who survived 6 months, I don't know how many months in intensive care and rehab, and not complaining at all, that was quite, again, a contrast. And as I see him, there is something also a little bit tragic, as every person is tragic, somehow, because this immense knowledge and immense will of communication, it was really measured for him very, very short. So he had to leave really with a full baggage, as Bela Bartok said on his deathbed. That's such a pity that I have to leave with a full coffer. With him, it's absolutely true. He had so much to say, so much to communicate, so much to tell us, because he had an incredible mind. He had this festival which was called Music Centrale. Of course, music was central in his life, no doubt. Fantastic pianist, fantastic singer. But he was really a universal citizen, like everything made sense. And you know, when you build such a network of knowledge, I think it works like what Elon Musk is trying to do. But he was much better than Elon Musk at the moment, because he had this neural net on his mind, I think, which connected everything with everything. And this net, basically, I think, helped him also to save him in those horrible months alone in a hospital, because he was a great companion also for himself. He could entertain himself, he was in his world, and that net, that neural net of knowledge, really kept him like a trapeze, or the trapeze, somebody on a thin rope falling, but that net was underneath or above, I don't know where, but the net was there to help him to thrive. Yeah, the body was fragile, the body was frail, so he had to go. But his mind is really something big. His heart and his mind, his being alive so much, which for me, I take with me, because an immense sense of inspiration it was. I will never forget the fights after exams. There were some really entertaining moments when strong personalities clashed together, and in the end it was always very nice because there was reconciliation. But he was a man of very strong opinion, and on the edge of stubbornness, of course, which all, I think, great ones have, because they believe in their own truths. And in that sense, he was just a unique, really unique person. And I would like to, of course, I didn't really prepare this speech because I was so much taken by your speeches. It was unbelievable, and when Jabiz was telling about how he said 2 words, I couldn't really believe it, because Martyn and with me it worked differently. I would say 2 thoughts and he would go on forever, elaborating on those thoughts. So he was really a man of words, and he really knew how to put them into action and into an order and into absolutely amazing entertainment it was to be with him. And what I sensed also with him, that he must have been sometimes lonely among, you know, most of the people are not blessed with this sense of knowledge and curiosity. And he might have felt maybe lonely once in a while in his isolation of knowledge and knowing so much and being so interested. So I think once more, in that final phase, that must have been so much going on in that head when he had these conversations with himself. And I truly hope, because he was talking about a book, I don't know, Tomiko, if it will appear, I think it would be an amazing contribution to all of us. He was writing this book after his miraculous recovery, so I hope that will happen. And actually, it's also very interesting that what I wrote down from one of his last, not last, but one of his WhatsApp is very much corresponding with Myrto's story. And I totally share with you that feeling of, wow, I so much would have liked to hear that Opus 111, but in which circumstances? I will tell you this WhatsApp which I got from him. Sorry, I have to check that. Ik heb in het rehabcentrum een piano ontdekt. Artsen en verpleegsters lopen binnen en zetten zich in hangmatstoelen, luisteren met gesloten ogen. Eergisteren vroeg een man of ik Opus 111 kon spelen. Deze laatste sonata was zijn kompas door het leven van toen en ziekte van nu. And just give it a thought. I mean, you survived, I don't know how many months in coma. And you just play Opus 111 by heart at somebody's request. I think it's unprecedented. But I go on. Hoe graag gaf ik aan zijn verzoek gehoor? Het 3/8 ritme, het Gute Nacht, träume sanft, liebe dich, danke sehr, waarmee Beethoven stil afscheid neemt van een gigantische ervaring. In tranen loste het tweede deel zich op in dominante, tonica's, en de stilte die het slot volgde mocht niet meer, nooit meer afgebroken. Ja, dat is ook zijn schriftkunst. He could write like very few people can, put all these feelings into schrift. It's absolutely touching, and I wish I heard that. It was like in Zauberberg, Thomas Mannian moment, that there sits the artist, and not Liszt, but Opus 111 must have been his spiritual realization. So I think it's very unique. I'm very grateful that I knew him, and I'm very grateful that he shared his mind with me. His collegiality was great, and I also, our last meeting was with Tomiko last October 2021, and he was full of optimism and absolutely a delight. But what I remarked, that was my last observation, because he would be so unbelievably witty and a bit sarcastic when he saw stupidity. And there was this horrible waiter, absolutely revolting, arrogant prick, I would say. And he was lecturing us about the food and I don't know what. And he was incredibly calm. And I was looking, when will it come? Something, just a reaction. And he was just very, very forgiving. And the man could go on with his nonsense. And in the end, he brought us beautiful food, and he was enjoying his food. And I almost asked, but maybe it was not necessary to ask, but I saw this absolute peace with anything. Stupidity, brilliance, mistakes, great efforts. I think he made his balance in life, and he was accepting everything. So a great human being. And actually, I must tell you, this is the end of this memorial, which is, of course, fantastic. With the thought of this, really, I think he lives so much in the heart his students and what a pedagogue can wish for. And I think he was really, really happy here in Utrecht. So I think that's great. And it's kind of awkward for me to play something. I said yes, but I feel no. But because I so much would like him to play and have, that we carry his notes in our ears. And but in one of his WhatsApp, he also said that at one moment when he was very sick, he said yes to life. He said yes to survival. I think you should finish with this.
Thank you, Klára.
Thank you everyone for this wonderful and beautiful afternoon, remembering Martyn. I think this